Hello and welcome to another podcast of Coffee and Calling with Levi Tidwell.
And Paula Rye. And today we have a very special guest with you. He is a actual graduate of Indiana Wesleyan University. He's pretty cool, kind of funny.
He's big time.
Yeah, big deal kind of around here. And
BMOC, big man on campus.
big man on campus. Yeah, let's do it. What's your name?
What's up, guys? I'm Noah Rumsey.
Woo, let's
Woo.
go.
And what are you drinking today?
I am drinking a strawberry banana milk. There's not a milkshake. Strawberry banana smoothie
Yeah.
Wow.
with whipped cream on
What a
top.
great choice by you.
Delicious. I love it. It's my favorite.
When we ordered it, first of all, it was supposed to be a surprise, so I surprised him, but he
Yeah.
didn't seem that. It wasn't like a
He
happy
wasn't
surprise.
surprised, no.
Yeah, I felt like I wanted more reaction.
He's
there.
a little let down.
Yeah,
I
but
internalize a lot of my emotions.
Okay.
and one of those being surprised.
Oh.
let's unpack that. I'm drinking a matcha with blackberry, of course.
I'm drinking a matcha with no blackberry.
Wow.
Of course.
So yet another Coffee and Calling with no coffee.
We have to let them know, though, we did drink coffee last week.
We did.
I had a
Oh,
co-
and we didn't even mention it.
No, we didn't.
We all had coffee.
Yeah, it was historic.
Yeah.
I had a coffee right before this, so
Oh.
it
Yeah.
basically counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
basically counts.
Yeah. So you had coffee. You probably have a calling too.
Yeah.
But before we get into that,
Oh.
tell the people what you're up to these days.
Oh, man.
What are you getting yourself into?
So this past year, I've actually been living in Salisbury, Maryland. So that's been awesome. It's been really cool. I've been doing a residency out at Emmanuel Church, and it's been super cool. It's a 2-year program. So I just finished my first year,
Wow.
and I'm actually at the point past my halfway mark. I started last September, and I finish next September. And so I'm like at the point, it's weird because it's like I've been counting up this whole time, but now I'm counting down the days.
Oh,
I've got
man.
11 months left, and then after
Dang.
that, I don't know what I'm doing. So,
Wow.
but it's been good though. It's been good to live out in a completely different area. Yeah.
Yeah, have you ever, where are you from?
Oh, I'm from here in Marion, Indiana.
What?
Born and raised. I'm a
Dang.
Midwest guy my whole life, but
Any culture shock that came with moving to Maryland?
honestly, the area that I'm living in is very similar to like Marion. There's like
Huh.
obviously like there's a lot of parts like on the East Coast that is like way different.
Right.
You know, like Baltimore and Washington D.C. are only a couple hours away, but
Right.
we live on the peninsula of Maryland, so it's like just south of Delaware.
Okay.
Very similar. Very
Hmm.
similar to Indiana. It's kind of weird. The only difference is that you're half an hour away from the beach. And
Oh my gosh.
in Marion, the closest thing we have to a beach is the Splash House.
Right.
Shout out to the Splash
Love the
House.
Splash House.
Huge shout out. How often do you utilize the beach?
Oh, I never go.
You never
I never
go?
I'm a Midwest guy. Like I said, I don't like sand, and so like I know Paula's probably
So
starting
fair.
about to cry.
Boo, yeah.
But we've gone to the beach. We actually did when I first got there. One of the first things that I did with the youth group there was we did like called a beach tour, and so like every Sunday in the month of August we would go to one of the beaches like kind of along the coast and just have like a little worship session there and give a
Wow.
little word, and then
Yeah.
we get McDonald's after. And middle schoolers, high
Wow.
schoolers, they love McDonald's.
Oh
so
my gosh.
that's usually their favorite part. Is not even the beach.
Not the
You know,
beach.
they go to the beach all the time, but McDonald's is great no matter, where, no matter when. So,
That's awesome.
so that was like one of the first things that I did when I got there. I actually got there like end of August, so I was there for the last one, and then we were there this past August again. And if I'm being honest, that's probably like the only time that I've actually like went to the beach was when it was for a scheduled event for
Mm.
our students. And so I was just, I mean, I've gone a couple times, but I'm just not crazy about it, I guess.
That's okay. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
Is it yours, Paula?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course it's my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So what do you do for your residency? Like, what are you up to? What's your job description?
Yeah. So like I said, I just finished my first year, and I was in the youth group with the youth ministry there, and it was super awesome getting to know the students and building relationships with them. But I actually like just transitioned to a new position. I'm actually working with the media team now, and that was as of October 1st, which was this past Sunday.
What?
And I spent the entire day Sunday. I was preaching at the youth group for my last Sunday there, and then as soon as church was over, we were flying out here. So
Dang.
I haven't started my new position
Mhm.
yet.
Yeah.
So Don't ask me too many questions because I don't have too many answers on it. But yeah, so I just transitioned to our creative role, which is like also really new in our residency program.
Mhm.
So kind of like a guinea pig in that sense.
Yeah.
Nobody's
That's
done it
super
before.
cool.
So yeah, so I'm looking
Love
forward
that.
to it.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. Let's get into it. So, can you tell us about your calling story? How did you get called into ministry?
Yeah. So I have a really, really awesome story. Involves, of course, I feel like it always leads back to Charlie Alcock, doesn't it?
Always.
How could it
somehow,
not?
Every
somehow,
podcast.
some way,
Quick little plug for Good Days with Charlie Alcock.
somehow, some way, it just gets back to Charlie, doesn't it? No, but it was back in 2019. I was sophomore at Indiana Wesleyan, and this was after I did a year of nursing school. And
Gasp.
Oh
at
my.
at that point, I had quit nursing school,
Okay,
and I had
good.
just done one semester of communication. So I was in media comm
Oh.
my sophomore year. So I was really all over the place. You could probably tell I had kind of no guidance, no control over like where I was going with my future.
Yeah.
And so I was just really kind of lost. You know,
Yeah.
I would say I was kind of lost, just really concerned about like what am I going to be doing when I finish here. But I actually went to Follow in 2019, and I was just going there just to help, just to have fun as a free trip to Cincinnati. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll go. So I was helping with like the bounce houses, you know, just like helping out in like the little rec area that they had. And man, like when I was there, I had no idea what God had in store for me then,
Hmm.
but it was just so cool because I was just there literally just for a free trip, right? Like I said, but God had so much more. And it was like the last night or something. Did you guys go to Follow 2019?
No, but I will be there this year.
Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
going to go help out in Cincinnati for,
Yeah.
when is that? What, January?
I think
It's
it's
last
December.
week of December.
End of
Last week
December.
of December.
Right after Christmas. It's always
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, so I went to that one, and on like the last night they had, they did like a Charlie will tell you that it was completely impromptu that they did it. They actually ended up having like this kind of calling moment for like students and like pretty much anybody there. But I was kind of sitting in the back. I wasn't really with a church. I was just helping out, and so I was there sitting on the worship session and listening to Carrie Garcia, I think it was.
Yeah, I love her.
She's awesome. Yeah, it's listening to those people, and I don't remember exactly who was speaking that night, but it might have been her. I know she was like the key speaker there,
Mhm.
but it was just so cool. Like we had this moment, and they had, you guys know, like the it's like a little kids thing where you like scratch it off and it's all black. You scratch it off and there's like a little rainbow background.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So Levi probably doesn't.
100% no. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So it's like a little like arts and crafts thing where it's literally like just all black, but you can scratch it off and it like reveals like colors behind it.
It's
So
like a lottery ticket, but
for kids.
for
Yeah.
kids. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now I
Perfect
understand.
description.
And zero gambling involved.
Yeah.
No money other than how much it costs. So, but it was fun. Yeah. So it was just I don't know if it really meant anything. I think that's just what they had. But it was like basically you would take one of those and you would scratch off so the theme for the night was, or for the sermon was, Jesus, my yes is. You know, so like what are you saying yes to? And I was just watching this and I was just so moved watching all of these middle schoolers and high schoolers make commitments for the first time. And like there's thousands of people there. You know, it's this convention center
Yeah.
just full of kids, just probably also just there to have fun, but God was using that night for something completely different. You know, it's super cool. So you see all these kids come in and then they actually walk up and put it on the screen. It's super powerful
Yeah.
because they would write it down on that little chalk thing. I don't know what it was, but they would write it down on there and then they would put it up in front of a camera. And so then the cameras would project it to everybody in the room. And man, they had a line that went all the way back to the back wall of the convention of people making
Wow.
commitments to Christ for the first time, or you know, into ministry or
Yeah.
into whatever God was calling them into. And so I was just watching that and I was just so moved by it. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is incredible. And I was kind of sitting there and I just kind of felt like just like this assurance from God. It's just like, this is what I want you to be doing. This is where this kind of stuff is what you should be living for. And so I was sitting there and I was just like, all right, ministry. Yeah, let's do it. And so it was literally like like spring semester starts like the beginning of January,
Mm-hmm.
and that was at the end of December.
Oh boy.
And so I was like, I gotta
Change my major.
switch.
Oh, boy.
I gotta
Yeah.
get out of Dodge. I gotta get out of I gotta get out of communications
Yeah.
because God's calling me into something big. And so I was like, this is it for me. This is where I gotta be. This is what I gotta do. And so I think I want to say I messaged Charlie on Facebook or something like that.
Wow.
I don't know how. I think he posted something and I posted something and he commented on my Facebook post. That's what it was.
Mhm.
Facebook, man.
Good.
I don't even.
Love
Who would have
Facebook.
guessed? You know,
Facebook of
I
all.
posted it on Facebook so my mom could see. You know, like my grandma
Yeah.
could see. You know, you're like, hey,
Yeah.
Noah's in ministry. You know, I never
Yeah.
post anything else on Facebook, but I was like, I feel like my Facebook
Yeah.
friends, being the older members of my family, and
It's the Lord's social media.
yeah, the Lord's social media.
Come on.
Wow.
At
So
least
that was
every single aunt that I have.
it's just connections
thinks
to
that
people
it's
who would love to hear something like that.
100%.
You know,
Yes.
I feel
we'll
you.
put it like that. People who would love to hear that I'm switching into ministry. So I posted it on there, and it got reshared a couple times by people. And then Charlie commented, and he's like, "Hey, bro, let's get connected."
Yes,
Whoa,
that
that-
was good.
Yeah. That voice.
I
Oh my
practiced
gosh.
a little bit.
Thank you. That's
Good
great.
days, good days, bros. Good days.
Wow. That was
You
impressive.
close your eyes, you might actually think he's in the room.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, so that was kind of like the story behind my calling, and I'm sure there's probably moments in the past where God was trying to get a hold of me, but
Mm.
like any good Christian I ran from God's calling, right? I ran from things that God wanted me to be and wanted me to do, and so sometimes we take a little bit of a roundabout way to get there, but God usually gets his way, and by usually I mean almost always. He'll get his way on those kinds of things. So it's just kind of up to us on whether or not we say yes or when you say yes. Because you can say no all you want, but there's still going to be a day where you say yes to him. So
Let's talk about that. Like, I don't know if there even would be people listening who are running from their calling, because I doubt they want to listen to a coffee and calling story. But just in case there are, like, how do you know that you're running from a calling? Or in retrospect, did you see like was there evidence that you were running from that?
I think everybody gets like everybody has giftings, right? Everybody's gifted in some way. And so right, so you might not necessarily be called into full-time ministry, but I feel like everybody's called into something, and it's kind of just like listening to other people is so important.
Mm.
And so like if you have received your calling, like you know what it feels like, you know what it looks like. And so I think it's a really good thing to be aware of kind of like those signs, because a lot of times God speaks through other people to communicate your calling. And so like I remember, like for example, I worked at a summer camp before that. So it was like after my freshman year, I worked at a summer camp after my sophomore year. So it was like kind of like right in that summertime, I would work at the summer camp, and I had people, they would come up to me, and I had just finished my nursing school at that time, and I was going into media communication. And so these people were like, have you ever considered like being a pastor? And I was like, no, like, why would I want to do that? They don't make any money. You know? So I was like, I don't really want to. I was like, no, I've never really considered it. And they're like, I don't know, man. Like, you just have like this kind of wisdom to you. You know, you just got something about you. Like, you're just really good with these kinds of things. And people, they might not know that they were speaking into my calling,
Hmm.
but they were just seeing something that was a strength of mine, and they were speaking into that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's a lot of times how your calling kind of develops, or like if
Right,
you don't
yeah.
know your calling, or you haven't kind of received or accepted your calling. I always say you accept your calling, because it's always being extended to you, but it's just when you accept your calling. So if you haven't accepted your calling, you know, that's a whole nother story, right? And I think that's where a lot of people find themselves, is that they haven't accepted it, because I feel like a lot of times they might have heard it.
Mm.
You know, like I heard people telling me this might be where you're working, where you could be good at. You know, this might be a place where you would be an effective leader, or maybe this is somewhere God is leading you to, but you don't accept it, you know? And so I feel like for a lot of people that would be listening to this podcast, you know, maybe they've already accepted their calling, but they might know people that they're pretty talented, they're pretty gifted in certain ways, and they just don't know it yet. You know, God speaks through other people a lot.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times I feel like how he tries to communicate to people, this is something you're good at, you know. It's so weird. It's so weird how we talked about this in a few classes of ours too. Is like how like other people can see things that you don't see in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's such a strange concept because you know yourself better than anybody, right? Because
Right.
you're the one that spends all your time in your thoughts and in
Yeah.
your mind and all these things. Like you are literally like with yourself all the time. So you know yourself better than anybody, but sometimes you're blind to certain parts of your character or certain parts of who you are.
Yeah.
And it takes other people to see that and to notice it in you because you're so used to just being you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
People speak that into you and they say, hey, this is a gift I see in you. This is something I think you might want to look into more, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's such a cool part of that. I don't know if I really answered your question, but
No, it
No,
did.
that was
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people that get called into ministry, they have people who speak truth into their life and truth into their calling. But then there's also people, including themselves, that speak lies
Mm.
into
Yeah.
their calling. So in your experience and in your calling story, do you think there's been lies that you've been told by the enemy, by other people that you've convinced yourself of? And how did you kind of wrestle with that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think when it comes to especially like other people, you kind of got to weigh how well does this person really know me?
Mm.
You know, because it's just kind of like a funny example, but the same summer camp that I worked at, right? We talk about the Enneagram, and
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh, you're an Enneagram 7 because like you're super fun and super like energetic and all these things," and
Mhm.
and like that was just like the circumstances that I was in. Like I was
It's
just
like
really
everybody's a 7 at camp. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
literally.
That's It's like you're a 7, dude. You totally a 7. And they asked me questions, and I remember they asked me. They're like, Noah, are you afraid of the dark? And I was like, or were you afraid of the dark as a kid? And I was like, I mean, yeah, but like, wasn't everybody? And they're like, oh my gosh, he's a 7. He's a 7. Like that's exactly what it says here in this book that a 7 would say. They're like, you're a 7. And then I just kind of like believed that I was a 7 on the Enneagram
Wow.
Mhm.
because those people said that to me and they spoke
Right.
that into me. And I was like,
Yeah.
I never really looked into the Enneagram before. But when I left that setting and I was in a different area and I was like, I think I'm a 7. And somebody came up to me and they're like,
No.
you're not a 7. I was a little heartbroken. I was like, I'm not a 7. What do you mean? I was like, but these people said I was a 7. No, but I looked into it more. I actually started doing some real like searching and digging into it, and I was like, I'm not a 7.
No.
Yeah.
I kind of accepted it. I was like, I'm not a 7. I'm definitely a 9. You know, I love
Yeah.
to just kind of like build bridges between people, and as the peacekeeper is like I love just keeping the peace and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm definitely not a 7. Like I'm not that spontaneous, but it's just like you're right. It's everybody's a 7 at camp. Everybody's got that energy to them. It's camp. It's like you
Right.
gotta step up your game when it comes to energy. And then like when I'm not in camp, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm like the least energetic person. Just so chill. It's just like I just love my like slow mornings and just chill time.
Mhm.
Like I was like I could never be a 7. Those people are all over the place. I love 7s.
Hey.
No, sevens are like the greatest. They're
Yeah,
like the best
thanks.
friends that you could have. I would definitely say that 7s are like the best friends.
Never
But
a
for
dull
me-
moment with
Absolutely,
sevens.
absolutely. Just
I'm
the
also a 9.
spontaneity.
We got
This-
2 9s and a 7 at the table.
outnumbered. Look at
Play.
that. That's a good group, though. That's a good group. The
That's why we're getting along.
The 7 will
yeah.
keep it alive, and the 9s will keep it real.
Yeah.
How's that for a bar?
Someone write that down. Well,
So-
that's awesome.
So, do you think there's been any time since your calling that you've doubted your calling? Like maybe this isn't what God has for my life. Maybe I'm not enough. Whatever.
Well, first off, I think we sometimes have a misconception on like the concept of doubt, because when we think of like we're doubting something or questioning something, we're thinking that there's something wrong,
Mm.
or something that's not good, or that if you're doubting, that means it's like either I'm in or I'm out. It's like am I in, am I out? But really, I think when you're doubting, you're questioning, right? And I think if you don't doubt, if you don't question anything, then it's kind of like, do you really even believe in it? Because like
Mm.
with Christianity, right? Just in theology, like in general, like the whole concept of theology is to ask questions, right?
Yeah.
Is like you hear about like theologians that'll like spend all their days, like C.S. Lewis is one of my favorite theologians, favorite authors. Like he is a very analytical thinker in the way he does, and I relate to that. And so like he would question God on a lot of things, and that's a form of doubt, right? That's kind of how doubt works is you question things, but he really came to the conclusion that by questioning and by asking those questions, like he could only come to the conclusion about everything that he discovered about God,
Hmm.
right? So it's through his questioning that he actually found the answers that he was looking for the whole time.
Yeah.
So when we talk about doubt, right, it's like, yes, I've had moments of doubt. I've had moments of questioning my calling. But usually when you have those questions and you bring the questions, most importantly, you bring those questions to God
Mm.
and you ask him, like, hey, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, is this really where I'm at, where I'm supposed to be at? Like, God will affirm that, and God will confirm and affirm
Yeah.
the calling that you have,
Yeah.
and if you don't have that calling, if that's not what you're called for, like that'll become just as evident, so it's when you question, when you doubt, it really gives you the clarity that you were searching for all along.
Wow, that's so good because sometimes I think we're wanting like just like to know the answer or like doubting. I know for me, I'm like, if I doubt, then it probably means whatever situation I'm in or whatever thing, it's wrong.
Hmm.
But that's not the truth. It just means you care. It means you care about doing the Lord's will and you care about like your faith in general.
Yeah.
And so when we doubt, we're giving the Lord the opportunity to speak into our life. And I
Yeah.
think that's actually I I don't know, I think that's actually like noble. I don't know what the right word is for it, but like that's good.
Hmm.
Like it's
Yeah.
really, really good and healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's danger in certainty. Like if you're
Yeah.
way too certain about something, it's like, oh boy, like you might not have struggled with that enough, or like you've been deceived because if you're so certain about this one thing, maybe you haven't wrestled with it enough. Maybe you
Yeah.
haven't probed it enough, and then maybe it's not the right thing because I
Yeah.
mean we can get into spiritual warfare where like if you're doing the right thing, you're gonna deal with pressure and doubt.
Yeah.
It's like that's telling you that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So
Yeah, it's like, and Satan he'll love it if you could stay in one spot.
Mm.
Even it's weird to even think that, if you could be so certain, like you're saying, it almost certainty in some ways would like kind of lead into complacency,
yeah,
right? Because
Yeah.
you just think about it, and you're sitting and it's like, this is it, this is where I'm supposed to be. You're not growing, right?
Yeah.
right.
The whole point of your calling is to grow and to
Mm.
grow into your calling and to grow into the person that you're called to be, right? That's the whole concept of being called, is that, yeah, it's something that God has for your life and has something for you to be doing, but your calling is much more than just something that you do. It's the person that you are.
Mm.
And so
Come on.
when you're called into something, you're called to become somebody. You're
Yeah.
called
Yeah.
to become the person that God wants you to be. And so Satan would love it if you were just so certain about, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm supposed to be, and you just sit in it. Even a good thing. Because if he can get you to stop growing and stop changing and stop moving, he's winning.
Yeah.
He's getting
Ooh.
into the complacency of that. He's getting into the satisfaction and the just kind of like sitting in it.
Mm.
If he can get you to sit, he can get you to turn away. He can get you to turn around.
Right.
And so that's why when you're called into something, you got to keep moving forward,
Yeah.
right? Because if you sit still, then that leaves opportunities for people to kind of sneak in and kind of try to get you in the wrong direction.
100%.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you used to be doing youth ministry residency at Emmanuel, but now you're doing media.
Mhm.
So just like walk us through why it changed, how it changed. Is that something you feel like has to do with your calling? Like, do you feel like your calling changed, or like what's going on there?
Yeah. So it's so funny because, right, I have a degree, like I mentioned earlier. I have a degree in youth ministry, pastoral ministry, and so in some ways kind of felt like I like needed to be in youth ministry, right? Because that's my degree.
Mm.
That's where I'm supposed to be. It's the natural flow of, or the natural progression of my life, right? You get a degree in youth ministry, you go into youth ministry, right? It's just kind
Yeah.
of, it's 2 plus 2. It's simple. It doesn't really take too much to figure out that's what you should be doing. And so I jumped into that. But then something that we do at our program is we have like leadership lessons. And so
Mhm.
we'll read books, and then we kind of have like a book club, and we'll talk about the book and about leadership, about calling, about just kind of like a lot of different things. We've even done some about like financial planning. And so it's just like we do leadership lessons on just how to grow as a person, how to become a better leader. And so one of the things that we're talking about and we're looking into was like a calling book. And we were talking about how your calling adapts and your calling grows with you.
Yeah.
And so I just was like really wrestling with that because I'm like, again, it's that same concept of like questioning and, reevaluating where you're at in your calling and reevaluating where you are in your life. And so I was kind of looking into that and I was like, is my calling adapting? Is my calling supposed to be growing? Am I supposed to move on? I was like, and I'm just getting started. Like it's only been a year since I
Yeah.
graduated and I'm already like looking into another area of ministry. I'm just like,
Hmm.
and again, it's like kind of like that, like even like questions of like fatigue. It's like, oh man, am I getting like burnt out? Like that's something that freaks me out.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
talking about like burnout and fatigue. Like, and I was already starting to experience some of that in my time. And I'm just like, man, you hear this statistic that it's like the first 5 years of ministry are like the toughest one, and like the amount of people, I don't know the exact number, but the amount of people that move on from ministry within the first
Mm.
5 years, that's
Yeah.
something that freaks me out, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. But so I was kind of like just we're really worried about that because I was like entertaining the thought of like, am I supposed to be in another area of ministry, or could I be in another area of ministry so early on?
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I don't know, is that a possibility? And as we were talking about it, um, I kind of came to the conclusion that I'm only here for 2 years, and 2 years is really not a super long time, but it's also a residency, right? This is not a long term thing. It's not supposed to be long term. And I say 2 years is not long term. Some people would disagree, but for me, like I think of like a long term position would be more like five,
Yeah.
maybe even longer than that, 5 years. Um, but so really for me, it's like it's not long term. It's not forever, but this is also an opportunity for me to grow. And so I was kind of processing that and thinking about it. I was like, what kind of position would I be in that would help me grow the most? And I started to kind of think about and what I'm passionate about, what I love to do. And I think a lot of times, God likes to honor things that you're passionate about, and He gives you those things, right, and
Yeah.
those interests for a reason. And something that I was really, really passionate about, and I'll give a little plug for FNO. That show's coming up in a few weeks. I think it's the end of October. But something that I did
Can you
three and a half
describe what
years.
FNL is?
FNL is Friday Night Live. It's a sketch comedy group that we do here on campus at IWU, and it's been running since like the mid '90s. It is definitely the longest standing tradition at IWU's campus. It's just super cool ministry. I really believe it was a ministry, especially when I was there. God just really, again, that's kind of something that I kind of had to learn. And I was doing that before I was in ministry, but I really believe as I developed and as our team developed when I was there that it really is a ministry. It's a ministry for people who just need to laugh. you know,
Yeah.
sometimes we just need to laugh. And it comes up like basically right before like the semester ends, like with all of the finals and everything you got going on. Like it can really become like that November into December at time can become some of the more stressful times of the semester.
Yeah.
And so we believed in our ministry in the sense of like it's like an escape just from the stress of life and the daily tasks of everything that you do. Like you just take an evening once a semester right before the finals come around and you just go to the show, and it's like an hour and a half long show. We would write everything from scratch, which is something that I fell in love with.
Mm.
I fell in love with writing sketch comedy.
Mhm.
It's so weird because it's like I don't get to do that anymore. Like when I finished my time at FNL, I was like I don't get to write creatively anymore, and I really fell in love with being creative and having a creative outlet.
Hmm.
And since I finished my time with FNO, I haven't really had that same opportunity to have a creative outlet. But I really feel like that has slowly but surely become like a strength of mine. It's just kind of like having that creativity and having a creative outlet. It's just kind of developed that in me. And I think that's something that God has really developed in me because kind of growing up, like I used comedy all the time. Like I bounced around from school to school a lot when I was in like elementary school. when I was even like middle school, high school. I bounced around a lot, and so I ended up using like comedy as like kind of like a crutch,
Yeah.
really. Like that's how I made friends. That's how I connected with people. That's that's what I became. I became that. Like that was like my identity, and it got to the point where I was like, man, I was just like nobody would take me seriously because I was so like I was just so focused on making people laugh,
Mhm.
and like it kind of drove me crazy. But it was
Yeah.
like I used that so much growing up as like a way to connect with people, is using my sense of humor as a way to connect with people, and so being able to do that in a more direct way and in a more um, I guess like curated way, you can kind of piece it together and you can kind of create something, right? Instead of just kind of like having a conversation with somebody and making them laugh. Like I can write something that comes from my heart. You know, I can write something that is part of like who I am in my creativity. And so it's like kind of like creating something that you love and then putting it out there for people to enjoy and people to see and be a part of and in that way like lifting other people up. So I say all of that just to say like that's something that I love. I love to be creative. I love to lift other people up through creativity, through humor. But I haven't had that opportunity since I was in FNL, which is probably almost 2 years now,
Mhm.
since I was actually like did a show. So that's the kind of something that it's become such a strong passion of mine that I was like, I'm in this residency to grow. I'm in this residency to learn and to improve myself and my abilities. And if I'm being honest, if I go to another church, I'm probably going to become like the social media guy.
Yeah.
Probably because like 99% of churches like are small churches in the Wesleyan church.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed to be a part of a church community that is part of that like 1%. Like literally, we have like 1,500 to 2,000 people every Sunday at our
Mhm.
church. And it's just so incredible to see how God has blessed that church community. Um, but also part of that is God has really blessed us with an incredible media team. And so I'm like, this is my opportunity, you know, as I finish out my second year in my residency, this is my opportunity to really grow in something that I love,
Yeah.
really grow something that I'm passionate for. And so that's kind of where I was seeing that and where I was wanting to go with it. I was like, this is it. Like this is kind of like my doorway to kind of step into that and step into something that I love and be able to have that creative outlet again. It's just something that really gives me life. And so I'm really excited to kind of like step into that and just kind of like see how that works. And it's just like really weird because like I love youth ministry too.
Mhm.
And it was really hard to step away from the students.
Yeah. Sure.
And just because like the relationships you build with people over a year, like that's with some people, like I have some really good friends, you
Yeah.
know, sixth graders, but they're really good friends of mine.
Yeah.
But so like I'm still gonna be part of it. Like I'm still gonna help out when I can. Like we have a Bible study small group we do on Thursdays. So like I'm still going to that. You know, I'm still going there to see them and pour into them. But now that's not my job. That's just
Mhm.
something that I'm doing on like extra, like on the side,
Right.
just because I love them and I love that ministry so much. But it's like I'm taking this step as a way to learn and a way to grow in something that I've been passionate for and been growing in. Just never really had the means to do so until now.
Yeah.
And so even when I first started, we didn't have a creative residency. So like I
Yeah.
said, this is first one in the creative residency. So a lot of it is going to be figuring out how does that even work.
Mhm.
But it'll also be a really cool way for me to grow in something that I love.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, our last question for you is if there's any piece of advice for a high school student who feels the call to ministry, what would that be?
I would say ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, what does that look like? What am I supposed to be in? Because like for me, um, when I accepted my call into ministry, my only real perception and the strongest idea that I had of ministry was youth ministry
Mhm.
because I grew up in a youth group. I'd, been to summer camp. I'd done all these things. Like it was like the most, I don't want to say the most convenient option for me, but it was the nearest one. It was
Yeah.
the one I was the most familiar with and
Yeah.
comfortable with.
Yeah.
Um, but I know not everybody is called into youth ministry.
Mhm.
As much as I would love that for people to really pour into the youth of the future, like not everybody's called into youth ministry. But, especially if you're a high school student, if this is something that like you are exploring your calling and you're trying to figure out what does this mean for me, what does this look like ask questions because like that's probably the best thing that you can do because like we said earlier, it's like other people see things in you that you might not see in yourself. And so asking questions for people like, what worked for you as you were kind of discovering your calling? Like, what did you do to kind of really grow and to kind of figure out where you're meant to be, like where God is meant for you to be? And so that's kind of something that I think if I had done that more, I'm not saying like I regret any decisions that I made. I actually, like, I'm glad that I started off in nursing school, and I'm glad that I switched into media communication, because honestly, like, those things are still, in some ways, they're still helpful for me to even use that.
Yeah.
Like, and to be like, when I was in communication, I learned so much about, well, obviously communication, but just like the concept of even like interpersonal communication. So like talking just between other people, with like conflict management, or like even just like speaking clearly with other people or communicating effectively. Like that's kind of things that you learn about in ministry too. But like it was really cool just to kind of like learn about even like history of communicating and how to communicate more effectively. Like using that kind of stuff, like it really even built on my knowledge as a communicator now, right? I'm communicating by preaching to youth, and also like communicating between like volunteer teams, and like communicating between people, like between staff members. And so like it's really kind of opened up the doors for me. So I wouldn't really say that I regret any decisions that I made. I'm glad that I took the path that I did, but I would also say that asking questions would be a really, really helpful way for you to kind of like avoid some of those roundabout ways that we take sometimes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, especially if you have the gift of being on a campus like IWU's campus, like you're being near, like there are so many incredibly smart and wise people here.
Hmm.
Like obviously the professors, but even the students.
Yeah.
Even the students. Some students here are wiser beyond their years,
Yeah.
and like it's such a gift to be in a community like this. That's kind of something that I've realized, kind of taking a step away and living in Maryland. It's like, man, like that was a real gift, you know?
Yeah.
And again, like it's not that I regret not being around here anymore, but it's a gift. And sometimes gifts are only here for a season.
Hmm.
So I say take advantage of those gifts while you have them. And so that being talking to these people who have experienced the real life of ministry, who have experienced how a calling grows and develops and how to receive and accept a calling. There's so many people around here that literally have dedicated their lives' work to studying theology and studying ministry and studying all of these incredible things. And so like they know a lot more than they just kind of tell you, or a lot more than they just teach. Like they know so much. There's so many incredible like wells of knowledge here. And so I would say take advantage of those kinds of things. Ask questions, talk to people that know, talk to people that have been through it, because there's going to be moments where you're going through some things, and the best part about wisdom is that you can share that with other people.
Hmm.
You can share your wisdom. That's the whole point of wisdom, is to be able to take take the knowledge that you've gained
Hmm.
from your life experiences and share that with other people, so that way they can avoid the mistakes but also make the right decisions. And so that would be my best piece of advice to somebody who is looking to grow in their calling, or haven't accepted your calling yet. That would be my best advice. Just be asked questions and talk to people who have been through it, because they will give you some really good information.
Yeah. The last thing we do is we affirm the person who's been on the podcast. We just point out things that we see in that person. So we're gonna do that for you. I can start.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, I traveled with Noah for a summer for summer ministry teams, which is a traveling ministry teams. You just go to a bunch of camps. But we traveled together for like 8 weeks, and it was super fun. So I know Noah pretty well. But I just want to affirm in you that you are somebody who really does seek after the heart of the Lord, and that you are somebody who cares about what the Lord has for you, as well as caring for other people. I think that's something that you do really well, is you care really, really deeply for people. And you do that in a way that is speaking wisdom into their lives, but also making them laugh, which is a gift and a talent that you've been given. And I think you're somebody who stewards his talents really, really well, that are from the Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, 3 things I've seen in you is intelligence. I mean, dude, you are super smart. You are an intellect. Second thing is you are wise. You have a super deep relationship with the Lord. You have a deep maturity that's pretty evident. And then the third thing is any room that you walk into, you bring joy. You have the gift of joy, and it is contagious. And so we appreciate you being on the show and sharing that joy with us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thank you for all the wisdom you've been given to us.
Of course. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks. I was like thinking about what I was going to say, and I was like, actually, I got this.
Yeah, you killed it.
Yeah, you killed it.
All right. We'll see you guys next week or talk to you next week. Yes.